I want you to imagine a company worth $47 billion. That is bigger than Ford, bigger than FedEx, bigger than SpaceX was at the time. You would think this company invented a cure for cancer, or maybe a flying car. But no, they rented desks. That's it. They rented office space, put some cool neon signs on the wall, and gave people free beer. This is the story of WeWork. And more importantly, this is the story of how one man convinced the smartest investors in the world to light their money on fire. He didn't build a business, he built a cult. And in just 6 weeks, the entire $47 billion empire collapsed to zero. It is the most expensive party in the history of corporate finance.
To understand WeWork, you have to understand Adam Neumann. He wasn't your typical CEO. He was 6'5". He had long rock star hair, and he walked around the office barefoot, drinking tequila while telling his employees they were going to change the world. Most CEOs talk about profit margins. Adam talked about energy. He talked about elevating the world's consciousness. If that sounds like a religion to you, you are not wrong. Adam made people believe that renting a desk wasn't just work, it was a lifestyle. He called it the We generation. He threw massive parties, he bought private jets. He created a vibe that was so cool, young people were begging to work there for low salaries. They called themselves We Workers. They lived together in We Live apartments. They sent their kids to We Grow schools. Adam wasn't selling office space. He was selling a feeling. And the scary part? It worked. People lined up to give him money. But to keep the party going, he needed a lot of cash. And that is when he met the only man crazy enough to fund him.
Enter Masayoshi Son. He is the head of SoftBank, one of the biggest venture capital funds in history. Masa is famous for making risky bets. He was the guy who discovered Alibaba. So in 2017, Masa came to visit WeWork. He told Adam, "I only have 12 minutes." Adam took him on a tour. He showed him the cool desks. He showed him the free beer. He showed him the energy. Masa got back in his car and wrote a check for $4.4 billion. $4 billion. After a 12-minute tour. It was insane. Masa told Adam, "You are not thinking big enough. Be crazy." And that was like pouring gasoline on a fire. With SoftBank's money, WeWork went global. They opened offices in London, Tokyo, New York. They became the biggest tenant in Manhattan. Their valuation skyrocketed to $47 billion. They were a unicorn. But there was a tiny little secret that nobody talked about. WeWork was losing money. Every single minute, they were burning cash. Okay guys, if you want to be the smartest person in the room and understand how these billionaires trick everyone, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. We are exposing every scam in the book. So click subscribe and let's watch this empire burn.
So WeWork had billions of dollars in the bank. Did they use it to fix their business model? Did they try to become profitable? No. Adam went shopping. He bought a $60 million private jet. He bought luxury homes in California and New York. He even bought a company that makes wave pools for surfers. Why does an office company need a wave pool? Nobody knows. But the craziest part was the trademark scam. Adam decided to change the company name from WeWork to the We Company. And then he sold the trademark for the word we to his own company for $6 million. Let me repeat that. He paid himself $6 million for a word he didn't invent. This is a classic failure of corporate governance, but nobody stopped him. The investors just nodded their heads because as long as the valuation kept going up, everyone was getting rich. They were all high on the supply, but the party had to end sometime. In 2019, WeWork decided to go public. They filed for an IPO, and that was the beginning of the end.
When a company wants to go public, they have to file a document called an S-1. This is a prospectus. It forces the company to show their real numbers to the world. No more secrets, no more hype, just math. When WeWork released their S-1, Wall Street laughed. Literally, the first page didn't talk about money. It said, "We dedicate this to the energy of we." It was filled with pictures of people hugging and high-fiving. But when analysts looked at the financials, they were horrified. The company was losing $1.9 billion a year. For every dollar they made, they spent $2. And Adam, he had total control. The documents showed that even if he died, his wife would get to choose the next CEO. It wasn't a company, it was a monarchy. Wall Street realized the truth. This wasn't a tech company, it was just a bad real estate company with a high valuation. The media turned on them. The IPO was canceled. The valuation crashed from $47 billion to $10 billion to almost nothing. The cult was exposed.
Now, you might think Adam Neumann went to jail. Or maybe he lost all his money. Nope. This is the part that makes people angry. To save the company, SoftBank had to fire Adam. But Adam had voting control. He refused to leave. So, to get him to leave, SoftBank paid him. They gave him a package worth over $1 billion. He walked away from the burning building with $1 billion in his pocket. Meanwhile, thousands of WeWork employees lost their jobs. Their stock options became worthless. The people who believed in the mission were left with nothing, while the guy who started the fire was surfing in the Maldives. WeWork eventually filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2023. The $47 billion dream was officially dead. WeWork proves that valuation is not the same thing as value. Just because a rich investor says a company is worth billions doesn't mean it's true. Adam Neumann was a master salesman. He sold a dream. He sold a community. He sold energy. But you cannot pay rent with energy. Eventually, the math always wins. In the world of business, if a CEO acts like a god, you should probably sell your stock. Thanks for watching.